$25 billion spent on Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in 10 years. Between 2014 and 2023, a period of 10 years, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, TTPS, received upwards of $25.5 billion from the state, according to public data. Of course, not all the funding received went directly to crime detection and prevention, with a significant amount going to salaries and upkeep. However, treating with crime is ultimately the service's mandate. According to Finance Ministry documents, $21.9 billion was spent by the TTPS in recurrent expenditure alone. That is 86% of the total expenditure. The remaining $3.6 billion was spent on development programs. With 34,318 crimes detected, this means that on average, the TTPS received approximately $743,000 in funding for every crime detected, while for every crime committed in the country, the TTPS collected $206,000 in funding. But pumping billions into the TTPS did not have a net positive impact on crime. There were 123,664 reported crimes during that period, an average of 12,360 per year. Between 2014 and 2023, there were 5,472 murders reported, with 729 of them detected. The year with the most murders during that period was 2022. However, 2024 eventually recorded the most in the country's history with 624 murders. The year with the lowest number of murders during that period was 2020, with 393. For every murder reported, there were 5,472 murders between 2013 and 2024. The TTPS was given approximately $4.7 million in funding, while the TTPS got $35 million in funding for every murder it detected, 729. Homicide totals: 2014, 403, 2015, 420, 2016, 462, 2017, 495, 2018, 517, 2019, 536, 2020, 393, 2021, 448, 2022, 605, 2023, 577 in expenditure funding table. 2014, $1.46 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $418.9 million. 2015, $2.1 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $1 billion. 2016, $2.3 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $1.2 billion. 2017, $2.6 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $33.1 million. 2018, $2.1 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $60.9 million. 2019, $2.1 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $98.7 million. 2020, $2.3 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $113.5 million. 2021, $2.2 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $109.2 million. 2022, $2.3 billion recurrent. Program expenditure, $88.3 million. 2023, $2.4 billion recurrent estimate. Program expenditure, $37 million estimate. PSIP, $27 million. A lack of political will? In April 2023, during a Joint Select Committee on National Security, JSCON, on an inquiry into the criminal justice system in T&T to determine strategies to achieve greater efficiency and effectiveness, then Commissioner of Police Erla Harewood Christopher was asked about the most common challenges affecting the efficiency and effectiveness of the criminal justice system. She replied with 5 points: the lack of speed in dealing with criminal cases, especially firearm-related matters; porous borders, points of entry. Other agencies responsible for border control need to be on board. Porous prison systems where mobile devices enable communication to commit crimes are happening too frequently, she said. She also said that some of the laws are too archaic, with maximum penalties of small fines, and that the absence of laws governing social media was a problem, resulting in an absence of boundaries. In 2022, another GESCON on an inquiry into the safety, security, and protection of citizens with specific reference to the factors that contribute to the prevalence of illegal firearms and gun violence in T&T reported that T&T suffers from a border control crisis, owing to the lack of efficiency of the Customs and Excise Division and the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, and a gun retrieval crisis owing to the lack of efficiency of the TTPS. The report identified critical factors needed to improve the service's success. It said that modernizing the service to increase accountability and efficiency was urgent. It stated that the committee therefore recommends that the Prime Minister move immediately to adopt the recommendations of the 5th report of the JSC on national security on the final report of the Police Manpower Audit Committee, particularly concerning the commencement of a cabinet-approved TTPS institutional strengthening project with a primary mandate, among other things, to implement a new structure of governance and oversight for the TTPS, including a police inspectorate. It added that whatever independence is given to the police oversight body, POB, the situation is such today that coordination and cooperation are vital to overcome the sophisticated challenges posed by criminals and their accomplices. 3 years later, neither the TTPS Institutional Strengthening Project nor the Police Inspectorate has been initiated or completed. The PNM, while campaigning for the 2020 general election, also promised in its manifesto to take action. For maximum efficiency, the police service will be strengthened at all levels by the establishment of an appropriate police management agency. The PNM will establish a police service inspectorate. The PNM's 2020 general election manifesto stated, "A police inspectorate is responsible for developing and managing training programs, supervising police programs, and monitoring police performance." A survey of 2,051 people done by the Police Service Commission, published in late 2024, found that 82% of people feared being a victim of robbery, housebreaking, or home invasion. 85% were afraid that a family member or friend would be a victim of crime. 75% were displeased with the TTPS handling of white-collar crime. 70% were dissatisfied with how the COPI deals with TTPS corruption. 74% feared being on the streets in their neighborhood at night. 66% were not pleased with the job police were doing in the country. 63% feared driving at night in their community. 61% were scared of being in their yard at night. 57% were unsatisfied with the police performance in their community. 53% were dissatisfied with their interactions with police. 50% were afraid to be on the streets in their neighborhood during the day. The Police Manpower Audit Report. The dire need for establishing a police inspectorate and modernizing the service was identified in inquiries going back to 1958 in the Lee Committee. It was followed by the Darby Committee in 1964, the Carr Committee in 1971, the 1978 Bruce Committee, the Police Executive Research Forum Study of 1990, the 1991 O'Dowd Committee, the 2006 Mastrovsky Report, and the October 2017 Police Manpower Audit Report. During a handover press conference, the committee's chairman, Prof. Ramesh Deosaran, presented the 600-page document to Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. "You can't wear the uniform and be a criminal. There ought to be a zero-tolerance policy for persons who enter into the service and demonstrate an unsuitability for the job," PM Rowley said at the briefing. On the opening page of the document, there was a quote, "When one considers the history of previous inquiries, their seemingly ignored recommendations, and the range of challenges facing the TTPS, it will be a delusion to think that all will be well quickly once a permanent commissioner of police and deputies are appointed. From what this manpower audit has discovered, there is still a lot of work to do. The time to start is now." The report's executive summary stated it is now very clear that for a long time, the general population has been extremely angry and frustrated, not only about crime, violence, and police performance, but also about the inability of the authorities to deal more aggressively and positively with the general problem. Some of the key manpower audit report's findings were: the TTPS is in a very troubled and wounded state. It is troubled mainly because of the complex network of problems facing it, and wounded because it continues to be unable to rescue and recover itself. 500 officers randomly selected across ranks suggested the need for help. When asked whether they thought the TTPS was satisfactorily organized to deal effectively with crime, over half, 54% of the officers said very unsatisfactory or unsatisfactory. Given its public safety and national security duties, the reform of the TTPS has to be treated as an emergency through collective, non-partisan will for such to be effected sustainably. A paradigm shift is required in the minds of the youth and, by extension, the wider population. The complaints and prevalent dissatisfaction within the TTPS itself about tribunal delays, unfair promotions, lack of equipment, etc., add to the loss of the organization's reputation. When officers were asked whether they felt favoritism existed in assigning individuals to various divisions, units, or sections, 66% said very often or often. Even though all officers do not commit misconduct, there is a sufficient number of people in the service who can cause public alarm. Several senior officials from the TTPS and related intelligence units explained the disturbing extent to which a particular type of corruption has contaminated the TTPS over the years. When certain police investigations or raids are being confidentially planned, advance warnings, leaks are given to the targets of these planned police actions. The officials said such tip-offs can only come from inside the planning team. The human resource system of the TTPS is in dire condition regarding record collection, storage, and retrieval. As such, a manual-driven system stored in cardboard boxes in 2017 will not suffice. Last week, Prof. Diosoran made another appeal for the report's 82 recommendations to be implemented. Researchers' Disciplinary Processes in Tatters, the Palgrave Handbook of Caribbean Criminology, edited by local criminologist Wendell Wallace, was published in July 2024. Researchers Danny Carr and Tamara Ford interviewed 27 police officers in supervisory or managerial positions, including 3 senior superintendents and 2 retired officers, one a former assistant COP and the other a former deputy COP. Their research concluded that evidence supports the view that TTPS corruption can be explained by the service's organizational culture of low accountability. During the data analysis, 4 themes emerged. These themes are: 1. The disciplinary process is too cumbersome. 2. The disciplinary process harms the officer's career. 3. The disciplinary process harms the organization. And 4. There are informal alternatives to the disciplinary process that are less harmful. The researchers found that all participants in the sample were reluctant to initiate the disciplinary proceedings against police officers suspected of misconduct because they had a negative attitude towards the disciplinary process. They believed the disciplinary process was harmful to the career of the suspected officer, and the disciplinary process, if regularly initiated, would harm the TTPS, and there were informal alternatives to the disciplinary process that were less harmful to the officer and organization. To increase accountability in the TTPS and therefore reduce police corruption and misconduct, police practitioners need to come up with innovative ways to change the underlying beliefs and attitudes of supervisors and managers that promote low accountability. Between 2019 and July 2023, approximately 1 out of every 24 officers in the TNT Police Service, TTPS, was charged with a criminal offense. More than 2,260 complaints were made to the Police Complaints Authority, PCA, about police officers' conduct. More than 1,640 were criminal complaints, an average of 328 per year. Additionally, between January 2019 and July 2023, 268 police officers appeared before the courts on criminal charges, an average of 5 officers per month, according to figures previously provided by TNT Police Social and Welfare Association President Gideon Dixon. COP Erla Harewood Christopher was suspended by the PSC as an investigation into her possible role in the procurement of 2 sniper rifles for the Security Services Agency continues. Harewood Christopher was arrested on January 30th and released without charge on February 1st. Junior Benjamin was appointed as the acting copy over a week ago. PSC also needs restructuring. The Police Service Commission, which is responsible for appointing the COP and deputy COPs, among other functions, is also in urgent need of restructuring. The approval of the new structure and subsequent staffing to carry out the directions of the Commission will enable it to achieve its constitutional mandate, the PSC's 2023 annual report, presented to Parliament in late 2024, said. The report also raised concerns about the staffing of its secretariat. During the period under review, the Service Commission's department continued its discussions with the Public Management Consulting Division of the Ministry of Public Administration on proposals for restructuring the Police Service Commission's secretariat. The Secretariat is currently not operating with the required staff nor the full staff complement, which continues to be challenged to carry out the Commission's mandate, the 2023 report stated.